Hi,
Got
Vince.
it.
Yeah, I got it.
Hi,
Hello.
Luchana.
So nice to have you here. Thank you for accepting the invitation.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the desire to speak with you is here for a long time, but somehow now is the moment. It seems like this.
Yep. These things work themselves out, don't they?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
We've known each other, we've known each other from the forum from Liberation Unleashed, where you have been guiding 10 years already?
11 years. I did have a break for a little while, though. I lost interest in guiding at one stage. So I had some time out, but came back.
Nice. Well, let me start by asking you, if you don't mind, of course, some like few words or more words about the story of Vince. What is he looking for? Yeah, what did he find? Let's say this 11 years ago.
Well, there was a story of Vincent when he was young and an odd kid, different from most kids, didn't have many friends, really any friends that were like him. From not much memory until maybe high school, just the odd flash before that. At high school, it was Vince with a capital V. He spent most of his time in the library reading, keeping away from the other kids, probably to avoid bullying or at least humiliation. So a loner. And somehow, probably at around about 21 years of age, started seeking something, looking for something. Always knew that there was something wrong with the world, something that needed fixing. Even remember telling my mum, and I don't know how old I was, even remember telling my mum that a mistake had been made, that I was born onto the wrong world, and the one that I should have been born on, everybody loved each other and was happy all the time, and nobody had to do things that they didn't want to do. And that's where I should have been born. But anyway, so teenage years, spent a lot of effort trying to be normal, wanting to be accepted and trying to be normal. Joined the Navy to get away from home at, I think, around about 18 years old. And went to Southeast Asia and got dermatitis really bad. So ended up with being a standout again, unusual, not normal in the Navy, always had sandals on when everybody else had shoes, and always in trouble because the officers picked on me for not being in proper uniform and so on. Anyway, got out of the Navy, but by this stage I was married. So I was married at about 20 years old, just before my 20th birthday, actually. Then around about that time, probably started seeking in earnest, trying all sorts of things. In the beginning, it wasn't really not seeking as much as trying to fix myself. Psychology, went to university to do psychology and got involved in a lot of new age psychology, encounter groups, Gestalt therapy, that kind of stuff. Spent a lot of energy trying to fix myself, but at the same time trying to help others as well. So I became a hypnotherapist for a while there, spent 5 years as a hypnotherapist doing therapy with other people. Ran a lot of encounter groups, did a lot of that kind of stuff. But then settled down and just read a lot of spiritual stuff. So I was by this stage, I would say I was a spiritual seeker. And over the years accumulated a library of over 100 books, CDs, and did a lot of online stuff when that became available, looking for something. But looking back, it was interesting because I was getting high on this stuff, especially the likes of Jed McKenna. When I read his stuff, I listened to his audio books, I got really excited and quite high. And it was probably around about 2009, I suppose. I got into the non-duality thing, and because at this stage my wife, we were living in the mid-north coast of New South Wales, but my wife's older sister was sick with cancer, and my wife was looking after her in Melbourne, and I go down there and visit a lot. And we just lived in our caravan in her front yard while we did that. And while I was down there, I went and saw Sailor Bob Adamson, and Tony Wheeler was there, and went through a bit of a routine with the non-duality mob. Got very frustrated with that. Frank doesn't know what temperature to put on. Just a minute. It just starts on, it's the program is number 22 and it goes for 45 minutes and it'll do it. Okay. Yeah. What I got out of the non-duality thing was that it was possible for me to, I suppose I was still saying get enlightened at that stage. It was possible for an ordinary person to get enlightened. That's the big thing I did get out of the non-duality stuff. And the rest of what I got out of it was frustration. Really, really got frustrated with them. They kept talking gobbledygook and it just never, I could not relate to it. And every time I asked questions, they wouldn't answer it. They'd throw it back at me. Anyway, it didn't matter. Because at that stage, I had given up on the non-duality thing as a way of getting there, and I was in the caravan there in Melbourne, and somehow I got onto a bloke in America. Geez, I've forgotten his name now. I know it. It'll come to me, and I had a bit of a email, I think, maybe an exchange that way. Anyway, then I rang him, and he wanted, he wanted $50 for me to talk to him, and I was quite happy to do that. I gave him $50, and we had a conversation. And during that conversation, he said to me, he said, "Vince, the mosquito bite of seeking is never going to heal while you continue to scratch it." And as I say that right now, the hair on the back of my head stands up and the hair on my arms is all standing up. And I went, yes, I cannot be a seeker, and I don't know if I was still using the word enlightenment at that stage. Maybe I was, but let's just use it for the sake of language. I can't be a seeker and be enlightened, both. in order to be enlightened, I have to stop being a seeker. And what hit me was, this is it. It just went, oh, wow, whatever I am experiencing is it. There's nothing more. There's nothing else. There is nothing to add to it. There's nothing to take away from it. This is it. This is the entirety of everything, what I am experiencing. And I got, wow, that was an epiphany that I took away. For 2 days, I was walking along the sidewalk, and the footpath would come up and meet the bottom of my feet. And when I looked at the trees, they zoomed in at me. You know, it was just an amazing experience for a couple of days. And then I don't know how long after that. This was in late October 2011. But it probably wasn't that long. Probably about 3 or 4 or 5 days later, I started to have doubts. No, this can't be it. No. It's just anyway. So I was still seeking at this stage, even though I knew that I couldn't do both. But anyway, I was still, and I found LU. I found Liberation Unleashed online, and I thought, oh well, they know. I'll go and see what they say. So I went there for confirmation that it was it, that something had happened. And they put me through a real grilling, actually. The bloke, whoever I was, I forget his name now, but anyway, it doesn't matter who I was talking to, he started asking me things like, is there an experiencer required for experience to happen? And I just told him what was logical to me at the time. And after I don't know how long, I think this went back and forward a little bit. They came back and said, oh, okay, you're in, you're okay. Yeah, so I immediately started guiding. Straight away, I went guiding, and I never ever guided according to what LU taught. I never ever got the no self thing from them. But when I was asked about the no self thing, it was obvious. It was logical. When I was asked about responsibility, it was logical. When I was asked about control, it was obvious. It was obvious that by the time I became aware of what I was experiencing, it had already finished. It was already in the past. And it was like, the hair on the back of my neck standing up again. The whole idea was that there was nothing else to it. You know, it was as simple as that. It was like, that was the cosmic joke. It was so simple. There it is. There was nothing to do. I was already there. All I had to do was nothing, because I couldn't do anything anyway. It was just so simple.
so no experiencer?
Well, after the initial experience, no more. It was really ordinary very quickly. But when I think about the time before that moment, before that comment about the mosquito bite of seeking, it was like it was another person. It's like, I don't know who that person was. That was somebody I read about in a book, kind of thing. You know, it wasn't really, you know, no. The term born again, which is what some Christians use, was definitely a term I could relate to. You know, it was like that was my birth. I came alive at that point. From before that, there was just some storybook character running around doing things. After that, here I am.
And what about what about here? This question comes like, because enlightenment, so-called enlightenment or awakening, is something which most people like consider it as real, or something that they need to achieve. They have to to achieve. What is it?
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. Well, for me, it became, I don't know, probably around about that stage, I very quickly dropped the idea of enlightenment. And I don't know what enlightenment is. If it exists, it might exist, it might not. It's certainly written about. But the reality for me is that I don't know about it. What I can do is use terms that describe something. You know, it's not a label for something. And if I use the term waking up, it's like that can refer to, well, before something happened, it was like I was in a dream. I was asleep, dreaming.
Mm.
And waking up also has the within it the meaning that I'm now observant, I'm now aware of things that I wasn't before. And then there's the term liberation, which also makes sense to me, because now that waking up liberated me from the conditioning of having to behave according to the storyline that I carried. And that's interesting because there's a contradiction built in that, and that is that it's like I'm saying that I now have a choice not to be conditioned, but I don't have a choice. So the conditioning fell away, that the prison of conditioning opened its doors, if you like. So that's what liberation describes, and waking up describes no.
Yeah, something happened with the connection. I guess mine or yours or both.
No longer operating order.
Yeah, you're cutting somehow. I don't know if it is here or there.
Yes, I don't know. I seem to have Wi-Fi signal anyway.
So do I, but I don't know. Okay, never mind.
You're frozen again.
Yeah,
okay,
you too.
right. Okay.
Ah, now it's
I
okay.
can hear the chooks.
Yeah, they're so noisy here.
Oh, that's great. I love them. Yeah.
Yeah, so do I. I just love sounds of like surrounding things here.
Yeah.
Like before it was like, no, it's too noisy. It's not okay. Like it's disturbing. Now it's like,
Yeah.
okay. So, do you hear me now? Why? Oh my goodness. It happens again.
That one's saying she's really happy to have just laid an egg. Well, we're here still. Okay. Well, you got that's pretty much most of my story, I guess.
Hmm.
Of course, there are still stories, and stories still go on. The guiding that I started was probably that I always felt to help people, probably because I wanted to help myself. And I guess that's still a big component of it. But I have to say, I'm less altruistic now, and although I really enjoy helping people, I'm helping myself. That's the reason I'm doing the guiding, is because it keeps me focused on this stuff. And I think I've certainly seen people go back to sleep, is how I would put it. Simply don't stay with it long enough to change the conditioning and fall back into the habit of the old ways, responding automatically to conditioning. And by guiding, I keep the focus on this stuff so that that's not so much an issue for me. So I'm keeping myself awake by guiding. That's one way. One way to.
This is your practice.
Yeah.
I also.
Yeah. I mean, I used to do a lot of meditation. I used to do a lot of yoga. I used to do a lot of all sorts of things that I don't read anything about this spirituality anymore. Most of it's crap anyway. so I don't read, I don't watch videos on it. I just guide.
Yeah.
And I don't meditate. I will do yoga again because my body needs to do that. But at the moment, I've got a lot of arthritis in this hand, and it makes it difficult to take any weight on it. But it doesn't stop me playing golf. Yeah. So there you go. That's mostly my story. Mm.
And what happened? What happened in the so-called process of guiding when you start speaking with someone? Now, maybe lately you also are doing video guiding, or
That's only just started,
great.
and I've not been actually guiding people in the video guiding. I'm about to start. I've had one meeting, and I'm having another one in tomorrow morning, and I'm having one every fortnight, just with half a dozen people that I'm working with.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all there. None of them are beginning seekers. They're all either they're through the gate now, or they've got one foot through the gate, kind of thing. So really, I'm not actually guiding as much as I'm just nailing their feet to the ground a bit. That's all.
Yeah,
Just,
that's so.
just
It's
yeah,
nice.
stabilizing things and clearing up any doubts, because they're at the early stage, and doubts for surely doubts will come. So as they come, we'll just knock them on the head, unless they've got something credible to work with. So really, I'm not actually guiding people there. But what seems to happen is that although I'm working with about 6 people at the moment, 3 of them just went through the gate recently, and I could just not see them anymore. But I don't feel right about that. I feel the people that I've guided, usually, they're through the gate, they go through the confirmation process, and other guides agree that they are awake, and then they get abandoned. And I don't like that. That's because that's when some of them will go back to sleep, and that's when their doubts will come up and so on. So really what I'm doing is kind of not abandoning them at this stage.
Lovely, lovely. This is
Yeah.
lovely. Yeah. Yeah, I also like notice how easy you can delude yourself. Like, okay, I went through the gate, so to speak. There is no gate and no one to cross it. But anyway, it's
Yeah.
just a state, yeah, statement, not a state.
We know what we mean about that.
Yeah, yeah. And then I don't know, life goes on like always, and I'm very often I receive messages from people who went through this process, and they're just like you said, it's like nothing happened. It's like nothing ever happened. And the dream goes on, conditioning goes on, suffering goes on. And they're so confused. But yeah.
Yeah,
How about suffering? Yeah, let's talk about suffering. What is suffering? What suffers? I'm not speaking about physical, like pain or physical issues, but a mental suffering.
Well, it is physical, isn't it? When people tell themselves a story that creates emotional havoc, that's suffering. They tell themselves, "Oh, it should be different."
Yeah.
And they have an emotional response to that, which is physical. It may not be caused by anything physical. It's not caused by cancer, or it's not caused by their foot in a rat trap, but it is caused. It is real physical pain that they experience, but they can't isolate it to an arm or a finger or a leg or something like that, because it's emotional. So it's not specific to a spot. But if they were to try and see where the pain was, it's probably a heart somewhere here, or maybe depending if they have a lot of anxiety, it might be in the stomach. But it's interesting, that kind of stuff. Organ language tells us a lot about what people's suffering. And so one of the things from waking up where suffering changes, is probably the best way to put it, is that when you recognize that you're telling yourself a story that's likely to cause emotional pain, being awake, you can see that that's happening. You can go, okay, I was going to get into a state there by thinking about that in the way that I was thinking about that. And that's enough to just let it go. You don't need to follow through with it. It's interesting. We have, I noticed it's like we have a tendency. If you've ever come across somebody that talks and tells stories and they tell you something, but then they're telling it to you again, and you say to them, look, you've already told me that.
Yeah.
And you find that they've still got to tell you again. They've still got to finish it. They can't not finish telling you, even though they know you know.
My mom is like that.
Yeah.
My mom loves to tell same story.
Yeah. So what we have is this, we have this need to complete something, and with that completion comes a satisfaction. So even though there's all this other stuff about, you already know it kind of thing, there's just the need to finish it is important. And what happens when we're awake and we see that we're about to tell ourselves a story that would normally take us into an emotional state, the seeing of it interrupts the story and it doesn't get completed. And if it doesn't get completed, we don't get that satisfaction from completing it. And so consequently, the part of the brain that is active when we're going through that story, it doesn't get used, and it will eventually fall away. But more importantly, there's a new part happening, a new thing that says, oh, okay, I don't have to go down that path.
Yeah.
And that it's not really a right word for it. The relaxation that comes from letting go and not having to compulsively finish it creates new pathways in the brain. And so consequently, we can be a lot more relaxed and the suffering just doesn't eventuate. So it's not like we control the suffering. It's like we just don't need to have it.
Yeah, no need. Sure. I like this. No need. Yeah. I relate to this, like when you see the story as a story and something relaxes, because maybe what I've learned, I didn't learn anything in Liberation Unleashed, but the main thing, which I didn't read anything about it, or no one told me before, was like distinguish between what's happening and the story of what's happening. The narrative here, which is explaining like what's happening. Huge difference, huge. This here never knows. It just pretends to know. Yeah. Yeah.
The light's dwindling here. I should put a light on.
Okay.
For the sake of the camera. Whoop, now I've got
You've got a
streak through my face. Yeah, it's not going to go away. Oh, well, we'll live with it. Yeah. You've still got the sun shining on the side of your face.
Yeah, it's like almost 11 here a.m. What to ask? Yeah, there is this question like coming. Well, how is Vince's life, a daily life? routine?
My
Comparison then
routine.
before and now. Yeah.
Oh,
How days go? Like, is there any difference?
well, yeah, big difference in some ways. Before, and it's almost like I'm reading a story again, I'm reading a book, but before Vince woke up, he had the habit of getting frustrated over the most trivial thing. You know, you tying my shoelaces, if it didn't go properly easily, he would get frustrated and then he would get angry.
Mm.
Now that rarely happens. Very rarely do I get frustrated or angry. It does still happen. Usually my wife is the trigger for that.
What to do?
So well, what Ram Dass said: if you think you're enlightened, go spend the weekend with your family.
Yeah, such a blessing to have these like triggers.
Yeah.
What shall we do without them? Yeah.
Yeah. And it shows me that there's plenty of room to move in future, you know. Yeah. I don't know how long I'll live for, but I reckon I'll be working on this. If you know what I mean by working on this, it'll be an active thing for forever and ever, right till the day I die.
Mm.
And on my deathbed, I won't say I wished I'd have worked harder or anything like that. I'll say, thank you, it's been great.
Mm.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. These days I'm very busy, extremely busy. I play golf 3 days a week. And they're normal. Right at the moment, things are a little bit not normal. Because my sister-in-law passed away 3 weeks ago, and we've been working on her house, trying to get it ready for sale and so on. So that's kind of changed what's usual. Once upon a time, I was into, well, I've been into lots of things, but once upon a time I was into bonsais, and now I'm again back into bonsais, and that can take up a lot of time, but very rewarding. I'm really enjoying that. Once upon a time, I was a potter, and I used to do pottery, and now I do woodwork. I'll make my own bonsai pots out of wood rather than pottery, but that might change. I might get some, if I can find somebody with a kiln, I'll start making pottery bonsai pots again. So it's not just the plants, but the pots, you know. So there's constantly something going. I like to sleep in, but I don't very often get to sleep. I rarely get to bed before midnight or 12:30. So I know it's probably not the healthiest lifestyle, but I most nights would probably get 5.5 to 6 hours sleep. But if there's nothing on in the morning, I'll get to sleep in, and I'll get a bit more those days, you know. But that only happens about twice a week. Yeah. But life is great. I just, it's just, yeah.
And like
There
I
is,
said, oh, sorry.
Go on. Yeah.
Like you said, that life is busy. In a way, like life is moving and constantly changing all the time. It is such a like stupid idea to think that something is fixed. Nothing is fixed. It's never been fixed, even though sometimes it seems that nothing is moving, but it's constantly changing, constantly all the time.
I'm just seeing if I can, what have I done? Where is it? Oh. Edit. At some point I changed the background.
It's okay. It's gray and a little bit like blurred.
I don't know how to do that now, how to undo it. I was going to show you some of my, what I look at on a daily basis here. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
None. Okay, so here we go. So look at this beauty.
Yeah, it's amazing. Oh, lovely. Yeah, nice. Oh, nice.
This is my backyard.
It looks amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so green.
Oh, it's lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's a
It's a
rain.
tiny little rock. I've
Yeah.
put all my plants out to be watered in the rain.
Oh, so many plants.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice outside.
Yes.
We've had a lot of rain. We've had a lot of rain here recently, which the plants have loved. Yeah. I don't know what else to tell you. Have you got any more questions?
Let me see. I don't know. Yeah. Do you speak with your wife about those stuff? Or some friends? Is there an intention to speak? Was there an intention to speak?
Oh, hang on. I'm not with you. I'll just go back inside.
Okay.
So the neighbours don't hear me talking. Now, ask me that question again.
Yeah, the question was, do you speak with someone about this? With your wife?
Oh, right.
Neighbors?
No, she thinks it's a lot of rubbish. And look, the blokes I play golf with would have no idea that I'm awake. No idea at all.
Does it matter? Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter. And nobody in my circle of people would know that this is the case. You know, to them, I'm just an okay bloke. You know. Of course, in the early days, I wanted to wake up the whole world. Well, now, it's not an issue.
Yeah. As if world needs like help.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, and people on the forum would ask me, well, explain how you feel about Ukraine at the moment.
Oh, great. Let's talk about this.
Yeah. I feel sad. I feel sad that it's happening. I don't have any meaning to put on it. I can't even say if it's good or bad from a bigger perspective. I don't know, because I don't know that bigger perspective, you know. How I came to view the constant flow of shit that's happening in this world. If it's not a war here, it's a war there. If it's not this, it's somebody being abused. It's all of that stuff. Is I see it like if somebody gets food poisoning, what happens is they'll get diarrhea and they'll vomit and they'll feel like crap. And I kind of see all the shit in the world as being a little bit like the world's got food poisoning. And the reason that they vomit and get diarrhea is because that's their body's way of cleaning itself out. So it's an attempt to get healthy again. And so maybe all of this bad stuff that's going on in the world is somehow a way of the world trying to get healthy. I don't know. That's just a story I tell myself to make myself feel better, and it works.
Yeah.
I don't have any answers for any of these things, though. I mean, I'm amused when I feel like, wouldn't it be good to take revenge on Putin? Let's drop a bomb on him. And then I laugh because I think, well, imagine what that would start. Yeah, so I don't know what there's no answer to that I've got. I don't know that there is an answer anywhere. It's just sad to see so much suffering as a result of what I imagine is somebody's ego. But who knows?
Yeah, who knows? And do you have something to say to those who are still seeking for something? Those
Say
who are,
again.
do you have something to say to those who are seeking for something, to those who are coming into the forum or joining in all those Zoom meetings lately? Like, there are a lot of things in YouTube mainly.
Yep. I kind of developed the story over the 10 or 11 years of guiding that the people who get there are the ones who have got a burning desire to get there. And they have persistence. They keep at it until they get there. Some of the people I've guided I've been to 35 pages. I've been to more. I've been to 42 pages with some people. And they just drift away sometimes. And I wonder about that. Well, these days I've started to do this Zoom thing with people who get into that state so I can slap them around a bit and stop them from giving up because they think they can't get there. And usually those people are actually there. They just don't know that they're there.
Yes. Yeah.
So advice is not right, but so what I notice is that people who really, really want it and persist at it, they get there. I imagine that some people who aren't quite so burning to get there will go away and then come back later on. Maybe they won't come back to LU. Maybe they'll go looking somewhere else, but they will probably get there or not. Who knows, but so if just because somebody drifts away doesn't mean that they've given up. They might just decide that there's another way that might work for them. We do fool ourselves for sure. So consequently, having somebody who can call you out on the bullshit is really important. You're never going to get there by yourself. I tried that. I would say I was a seeker for 43 years before I finally woke up. And I tried. Oh boy, I tried. I was burning. But it took somebody else just to say one sentence to me for it to happen. A sentence I could never have said for myself. So all I can say to the newbies is go for it and keep going until you get there. And if you think you're going in circles, ask for another guide. There's plenty of opportunity to change the way you go about things. It's a shame we don't get a lot more people who are guiding. We just don't have enough guides, that's for sure. There's always a list of people waiting at the forum, like 20, sometimes more than 20 people waiting. and not enough guides to do it. Because when you start guiding with somebody, I have no idea how long I've been guiding with these 6 people I've taken, because a lot of these I've taken over from somebody else. And it's been months and months and months. So I can't keep taking on somebody new and somebody new. So consequently, they have to wait. So what I say to all our guides is, if you think somebody is capable of guiding, tell them. Give them the opportunity to be a guide. That's how we'll wake up the world. If one person can wake up 2 others, and each of those 2 others wakes up 2 others, we'll wake up the whole world. That's a good theory anyway, isn't it?
A sweet one. A sweet one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Imagine all the people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can imagine, yeah. I thought if we were to teach mindfulness in schools and start at kindergarten level, in 30 years, we would have adults running the world that were smart, that were sensible, that were not like politicians that we see today. You know, they would be people who are awake. And that's only 30 years. I mean, I probably won't live another 30 years, but, you know, you never know. But it could happen in one generation. All we have to do is get smart enough to start teaching our kids to know what's going on when they think.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a good story too.
A nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think we can leave it like this, but definitely I would love to speak with you again if you want to, because now, so this freezing the connection from time to time. And
Sure.
but I think it's a good
Anytime.
start. It's a good start. So people can reach you in the forum. I'll put also your email, if you don't mind, in the description.
Yeah, sure. Yep, that's all right. No worries at all.
Thank you so much.
And I maybe one tomorrow morning Zoom meeting, if everybody turns up, I'll have probably 6 people that I'm guiding or have just gone through the gate. Maybe 4 of them have just gone through the gate and 2 are halfway through. But if other guides feel that they have somebody who's either on the verge or has just gone through that might like to come along and get slapped around by Vince, they'd be welcome too.
Great. Lovely.
Yeah.
I like this. Slap.
Yeah, good.
It's like.
Okay.
Wishing you a lovely night, evening. For you is evening. And
I didn't quite get that. You broke up.
I
That's all right. I got the feeling. Yeah.
Wishing you a lovely evening.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, you too. Whatever you're going to do now, I hope it's good. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
See you
Okay.
soon. Talk to you soon. Bye, Vince. Lots of love. Bye-bye.
Okay. Yes, you too. Bye-bye.